We're back.
I
Oh, I
didn't hear the
almost said the
jingle
B word.
again.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Pop culture.
Yeah,
Spilling the
that's true.
plenty.
Hi,
All right.
Tanya. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Yas?
I'm great, actually. Sun is shining. I'm feeling so motivated for this week. I'm really excited about the episode. I think we have a lot of interesting news to tell.
Yeah,
So I can't wait to get started.
right. Well,
You had,
first of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who listened to the first episode and gave us all that great feedback. I was not expecting to get the numbers we got. And yeah, pretty cool.
yeah, pretty cool for two people talking about plants.
Right.
Want to get started?
Sure. Go ahead.
So let's talk about some of the latest plant news. As you know, I live in Belgium, in Ghent. And in Ghent, we have a greenhouse also, like a botanical garden. It's actually quite an old botanical garden. It was built in 1794 during Napoleon rule. And about 20 years later, the greenhouse was rebuilt in the current location. And 1 year after that, it was given to the University of Ghent as the place to keep their botanical garden. So during the 30s, it was expanded, and now they have, I think, four big greenhouses. They have a tropical greenhouse, subtropical, and also one for the succulents. And I saw this week that they had some interesting news. They had a big tree growing in one of the greenhouses, I think the subtropical greenhouse, since 1999. The tree is called Pandanus montanus. It's a plant that's endemic to the island of Réunion. And this week, they actually had to move the plant from one greenhouse to the other. It was growing too high in its original environment. It grows like branches and doesn't grow that high, but in the greenhouse, it receives a lot of direct sunlight and it grows really vertical. So they had to choose either to cut it or prune it, but they thought that the chances of success were too low. So they decided to move it. It was a plant of, they said, around 500 kilograms, and they had a lot of volunteers helping to move the plant from one greenhouse to the other. I can show you the pictures. It's quite impressive that they moved the plant. It's a beautiful plant too.
Yeah, we should put those links in the show notes.
I have one more bit of news. Well, it's not really news, but it's spilling the plant tea. It was from the Facebook group of the philodendron enthusiasts, so all about philodendron. And I saw a post a few weeks ago asking their followers, what is your most hated philodendron? And if I were to ask you, what would you think that the responses would be?
What would I think the responses are? Probably the lupinum. I find that one extremely difficult to grow. I don't know. Tell me. I'm curious.
But I love mine. It's mature now. Since I had it for 4 years, and then it finally matured, and now it's such an easy philodendron. But anyways, the most responses, well, it was actually quite similar. A lot of people answered all three names that came back a lot, which was philodendron pink princess, a lot of hate for the plant, philodendron Birkin, we talked about it in previous episodes, and then also philodendron brantianum, which I get.
Mm,
It's a difficult plant to
yes,
grow,
it
to
is.
mature. I think it's one of the philodendrons that has a lot of difficulty to growing bigger leaves, and I think that's what a lot of philodendron growers love, that they can expand the leaf size of the plants. With
Yeah.
another question that was asked in the group is like a person has said a lot of people are downsizing their collection, which is a recurring theme we see a lot. And that person asked, if you were to downsize, what philodendron would you keep from your selection? I think you could be a good person to answer that because I think you downsized a few times in your life again.
I have. Though I
And
prefer the term curate.
curate.
I curate my collection. No, but if I had to keep only one, it would definitely be, and this is not going to come at any surprise to you, Yas, it would be my majestic. I mean, I have many beautiful philodendron and huge and mature philodendron like my Jose Bono, but yeah, the majestic is just so that is one that I will always work with, I will always prune, I will always restart. It's
I
just so beautiful.
if it could just have smaller internal space, it would be the perfect plant, I think. But they always grow so lengthy, like, I wanna keep them smaller. I
Mm.
love the leaf shape and the colors. A lot of the responses in the group, that there was not that many that, or like, it wasn't always the same, but it did strike me that a lot of people answered the same type of plants, which would be like the elongated ones. So a lot of UPI, a lot of Spiritus Sancti, so that kind of plants. And then we also saw a lot of Tortum, Jungle Boogie, that kind of, and then the Verrucosum squamiferum type. So there were not any names that didn't ring any bells. People usually still go for the classic collector's philodendron, if that's a thing.
Ye
But yeah, it was nice to read that. So the initial question was like, people are downsizing. What would you keep? And then a lot of the responses were like, I can't throw any away. I can't throw any away. I want to keep them all. So I think it's the
well,
same for everyone. Like, "Oh, I need to downsize or curate." And then when it comes to actually throwing away plants.
oh my god. Oh my god, the discussions around throwing away plants, they can get really hostile in the Facebook groups. But I can promise you this, if you do decide to cut down considerably your collection, it hurts the first 48 hours, it really does. In September, just before I moved here, I got rid of, I don't know, probably 40% of my collection, most of which I gave away, and I took a big haul to a plant swap, and when I opened the hatch of my car or the trunk, the lady that was organizing it, she was like, "Oh my god, so many." And I started crying. It's so silly, I actually started crying. So I felt really bad that day and even the next day, because then I had to go clean the shelves and rearrange the plants to, like, cover the holes in the shelves. But then after that, when I saw that the plants that I really do love, they came out so much more
Mhm,
because they were presented in a more cleaned up manner, if you
mhm.
will. Um, it was okay. It was okay knowing that the plants are with people who love them.
I think it's also about maturing in plant collecting. I think you see it a lot with people that just start collecting. They just want to have it all, catch it all, like more, 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 more. And then if you evolve in plant collecting, you go about the plants that really spark you joy, and that can change over time. You can be like, I really want that plant, and then you had it for 2 years, and you're like, you still love plants, you still love that plant, but you want to make space for something that's more special or more unique, or I think that's okay.
Yeah. I think that's the essence of curating a plant
Yep.
collection. Definitely.
Let's go into our next segment. You are going to talk about Palmstreet.
So, like I said, I came to the US in September and I finally got to try out the Palmstreet app. I didn't buy anything because obviously I'm not staying here forever, but it was so much fun to check it out. And I was surprised by quite a few of the features because I've heard everybody on YouTube and whatnot talking about Palmstreet and it being so much fun. And there's a couple of features that I was not aware of that I thought were pretty cool.
What is the app about? Maybe I'm too European for this. I hadn't heard about it. Is it like a social media app? Is it like a sales app? What is the intention?
I would say it's a sales app. So on that app, you can buy plants, but there's also other item groups like arts and crafts, I believe. I didn't check those out so much because obviously I'm interested in plants. And people who have a profile on there as sellers, they can go live at any time and do live plant sales. But there are also silent auctions or auctions in general where they just put a plant on the platform and then you have so and so many hours or days to bid on that plant. And the sellers can interact with the viewers during the live, like there's a chat feature. Some of the sellers were a little bit boring in that they were basically just sitting in their plant room showing a plant into the camera. Yeah, but then others were like there was this one channel that was really amusing. It was so funny. When I clicked on his card, a pop-up showed up and it said, let me see, I took notes. It said, "This live may contain explicit content. I swear in the name of Monstera Deliciosa that I am at least 18 years old to watch this live." And so I clicked yes or agree, whatever. And the guy was swearing so much. It was so funny. Like, he was bitching about all kinds of stuff and really talking smack. And it was so much fun.
So what's the
Um,
difference between a live Instagram sale and the Palm Street app? Are there more features that are catered to the post-sales transaction, etc. also?
So once you enter a live stream, like it shows up like a feed in a
Mm-hmm.
two-column feed with like these cards, and it shows you who is live or who's planning to go live. And then once you enter that live stream, there's like a sticky note that you can collapse where the seller leaves information about the shipping process and or any other notes that they want to leave, like, oh, it's winter, make sure you order a heat pack. Then you collapse that note and you follow the stream, and then you either put the name in the comment or whatever call to action it is that the seller has. Most of them use numbers for the plants that they're selling. Incidentally, the first live I watched was one that was streaming from Silverchrome Gardens, but I don't think it was actually William Rotolanda's
No,
plants that were being sold.
I think I saw a post by him on Instagram where there was like a woman who was doing
Yeah.
sales, but I think she's a different company, maybe
Yeah,
selling
she's a
his
different
plant.
company.
Yeah,
She might be renting some space in one of
yeah.
his greenhouses. So that was fun. A really interesting live, another silent live, where basically the camera is just pointed at something and the seller has a bunch of products to list. They weren't selling actual plants, they were selling predatory mites.
Okay.
That was
So
interesting.
we were looking at the mites then.
Well, not really. They were listed in the description.
And then how, so imagine a seller showing you 10 plants. How would you go on to buy plant number 4? How does that work?
Well, you basically have to be the first to type in the comments number 4 for me or
Okay.
whatever.
So that's the same from Instagram live kind of thing.
Yeah,
Just I
yeah.
want number 4, and then they contact you after the live sale with
Mhm.
information about, or is that also in the app also listed, like they can select the plans already there in the app? No, it needs to be via chat or
I think it has to be via chat unless they are selling through stories or auctions, which happen outside of the lives. For instance, I saw an Alocasia venom corm that was being auctioned off, and when I saw it, it had like 2.5 minutes to go and was sitting at $50. And then there's also purges, but those I haven't quite figured out how they work. But like I said, I'm pretty new to the app.
Mhm. Any
Something
idea how long it's already been available and it's only in the US or?
for now, it's only in the US, that I know for sure. I know of two Canadian sellers who will sometimes use the app, but then only sell to the US. And they basically, I think they cross the border or something.
Mm.
Not quite sure how that works, but yeah, it's only available in the US. What else did I find interesting about it? There was a focus on lesser known cultivars of the classics, like Pilea and Begonia and stuff, plants like
Okay.
that. I thought that was quite interesting. So you get access to plants that you typically wouldn't see in a regular store. I guess the fun part about that is that you come across plants that you've never seen before. One that completely took my breath away, and I'm not a huge alocasia person, but it's called Alocasia Pink Balloon Heart.
I'm
That
gonna
is
go.
a really interesting one. It has a really beautiful variegation, and the leaf is like completely wavy, like it's gorgeous.
Oh yeah. It's like
But
a poly, alocasia poly kind of type.
yeah, it must be some cultivar. I don't know. They did say that it was grown in tissue culture, and oh, there was a entire stream dedicated to tissue culture plants. Wasn't very exciting to watch because basically you only saw the bag with the agar agar in it.
Mm.
But yeah, she had some interesting stuff. All overall, from the experience, it did remind me, like the whole streaming vibe reminded me a lot of video gamers when they do their streaming on Twitch or whatever. Like, that's kind of the vibe.
Yeah.
One other thing that's very different from Instagram is that once you exit a live, you get this pop-up where they offer you a discount for following them.
Okay.
Most of them were like $5, so
Yeah.
you get like a credit for the app. That was cool.
So do you see it taking off, like gaining popularity, maybe also in Europe over time, or do you think it's just a fad and something
I wish it did because obviously it gives a lot more flexibility to sellers and buyers alike. I mean, Instagram was not made for live sales.
exactly?
So, yeah, it would be pretty cool to have that in Europe.
Okay. Well, looking forward to it. Thank you. Let's go over to the next segment. I'm calling this Rate That Weird Plant.
Weird plants, weird plants. Everybody loves weird plants.
So I think that's something that's gonna come back over the episodes because I love it already. So I'm going to show you 3 plants and I want you to describe them. And then I want you to rate them 0 out of 10 weirdness. Like
Weirdness. So
10
10 being super weird?
being the weirdest thing you've ever seen.
Okay.
Okay, let's start with the first plant. It's called Papillonante teres. It's a cultivar Olympic rings. I'm just gonna shortly. I'm not gonna describe it. You can do that, but it's an orchid species. And interestingly, I found that the Papillonante teres, the Andersoni variety, is actually the pot parent of the national flower of Singapore, which I thought was really cool. And apparently, that is the only country in the world that has a hybrid as its national flower.
Okay.
So I thought that was really cool. Um, Afterwards, you describe it and rate it. I'm going to show you the flower of the plant also. I'll let you describe it now.
Oh my God. Okay, that looks so weird. The first thing I'm thinking is that looks like a Hoya trellis that I have just in green. Or maybe like a scarf hanger that you put in your closet, with the bubbles, like the one you get
Hmm.
from IKEA. That looks so crazy. I
And
like that.
look at the roots, the orchid root.
Wow. That's gorgeous.
So you understand where the cultivar name comes from.
Can you
Olympic
tell me the cultivar name again? Oh, Olympic rings.
Olympic rings.
Yeah, it makes sense, but I'd probably give it the name of the IKEA scarf hanger.
Okay.
But yeah, that
Okay,
looks
so
so
how you gonna rate it?
weirdness.
Yeah,
Probably a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Okay. I'm just gonna show you the flower now because to me it's a really anticlimactic. It looks like this.
Okay, okay. I like it better without the flower, actually.
The flower just like looks like your super typical orchid.
Can't help it. So many orchids remind me of female private parts. Like, really, this one is like a picture book example. There's like the ovaries
Ah,
and the
okay.
uterus and the
If we
clitoris
didn't
and the
have
labia.
if we didn't have the orchid lovers against us, then they surely are now
Oh,
fuming.
come on.
Now
Maybe they
we love
appreciate
orchids.
maybe they will appreciate me finding that somewhat sexy.
Okay, I'm gonna show you the next one. It's called Crassula umbella.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Okay.
succulent plant and it grows in South Africa. You can describe it.
Okay. I will describe it. Oh my God. It reminds me of a drum set, kind of, but like alien-like, with little miniature trees coming up from the uh or donuts? Space
Don't it?
donuts? I don't know.
They are cups, no,
Yeah.
or like little
Yeah.
caps, like hats
Ah,
with plumes coming out of it. They look so surreal to me. Like what is that cartoon called from American the Jetsons,
yes, exactly. That looks exactly
right?
like a plant that you could put in a cartoon like that. It's very
Exactly.
sci-fi, very alien, very I almost want to say non-organic, even though it's very round and
I do
that's
like it. I
really
like it.
odd. That's like a straight 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I think it's really pretty.
It is.
Yep. Okay. Anyways, it's apparently, well, I didn't search too much about it, but I think it's quite rare to collect, even though it grows abundantly in South Africa, but maybe it's just not grown a lot. So that makes it more difficult to find. Okay, so that's 9 out of 10. Okay, then I have one
100%.
final one, and it's called Alocasia plumbea flying squids.
I've heard about that, and I do not understand this plant. It looks like you took an elephant, no, what are they called? That succulent ponytail, that bulbous succulent with the long fronds.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Anyways, it looks like something that got burnt in a wildfire. Like, where are the leaves?
Tumbleweed. It
It's
looks
like,
like if you would design a haunted house and like draw some
yes,
plans next to it. It's exactly what it looks like.
if Wednesday Addams had a
Yeah,
plant collection, this
yeah.
would be her statement piece.
But in this white planter, it looks amazing to me. I l- I love the aesthetic of it. Like if you would have like an interior that's like clean lines, white and black, that would be.
Are those like the little curvatures at the end of these stems? Are those the leaves?
I think these are, yeah, that's all leaf, I think. And then
But I
yeah,
can't
maybe the.
believe that's an alocasia.
So it was created
Weird.
by tissue culture.
Mm-hmm.
So not a mutant
See,
was
nature wouldn't
found.
do something like that. It's like makes no sense.
It would, but then it wouldn't survive in the wild.
Like,
That's
how does
how
that thing?
that's how evolution works.
But how does that thing photosynthesize?
Well,
It really looks
look
burnt.
at cacti.
Yeah, true.
So rating?
Um, Another 9 out of 10.
Oh, you're generous with the
That's
numbers.
weird.
Okay. But we're gonna keep track and create a list because I think this will come back in next episodes.
Okay.
Okay, next up, it's your turn to talk about collector's confessions.
Collector's Confession!
Yeah, so this is like the first confession we're really having here. I will tell you something. So, 88 weeks ago, according to my Instagram post,
It's very specific.
I invested some money in some tissue culture plants, and it was two that came along with something different. I think I ordered them from Bulgaria, and I was really scared because the shop actually has a focus on cacti. And for some reason, they got into selling philodendron and other plants as tissue cultures. And they had a philodendron UPI variegata and a philodendron caramel marble
Mhm.
as tissue cultures. And both of them, according to the photos, already have beautiful variegation. I can't really remember how much money I spent on them, but like mid triple digits on each.
No.
And so they came, everything was good, but I don't know why I decided to take them out of the agar agar immediately. I think because one of the containers was broken or something like that in shipping. Anyway, so I was downstairs in my kitchen and my plant room is upstairs, where I have all my supplies. And so I opened them in the kitchen and I rinsed them off under like lukewarm water and everything was good. And I laid both plantlets on a paper towel. And then I took another plant, which was a mature plant that I had bought from them, um, and, took off the wrapping and everything. And so I was busy for 5 minutes with something else. And I had put that tissue paper, that paper towel with the two baby plantlets in my pocket. I was wearing sweatpants that are quite wide. And I'm like, I'm just going to put them in my pocket so I don't forget to take them upstairs. So, anyway, I'm done with the mature plant and I go walk up the stairs and I put my hand in my pocket and I feel the tissue and I start crumbling it because I'm thinking it's just like, I wasn't thinking at all. Like my hand thought, okay, that's a tissue paper. You can crumble it. And I get upstairs to the plant room and I'm thinking, did I forget something? And then it hit me like a baseball bat. I'm like, shit. And so I pull the tissue out of my pocket and I open it up and I broke both plants.
Oh, I feel your pain.
I broke both plants. Like, how stupid and mindless can you be? And I'm like, okay, there's no way I can afford to replace these, right? I just threw out several hundred euros. I was so angry at myself that I started crying for making such a stupid mistake. So yeah, that was like biggest fail in my plant journey.
For 1 second, I thought you were gonna take the tissue and clean your nose with it.
Yeah, that was I did try I did try to plant them up. Like I put them in fluval and gave them a little dome. And one of them did make it, but then like 4 weeks later, I went on vacation. And it was that summer where it was so incredibly hot, and I had like temperatures of 38 degrees in my plant room, and it died while I was gone. I think my plant sitter overwatered it or something.
This is gonna be so relatable to a lot of people. Like,
Yeah.
not exactly the same, because really, if I paid 100 euros for a plant, like, that would not happen to me. But I did do a lot of stupid things too. So I might do a collector's confessions one day. All right, great. I think it's time that we talk a bit about our sponsor.
Mm-hmm. Our sponsor has had a lot of coffees over the past 2 years, which is what I just had a sip of. Today's episode is sponsored by Horticult.
Whoopa!
Oh, whoppa. Who founded Horticult?
We did.
Yay.
Yeah,
What does
self-promotion
horticulture
is
do?
okay.
What does horticulture do?
Now, what doesn't it do? Now, horticulture was created by us with a
Not
vision.
horticulture, horticult.
Horticulture. I'm sorry.
But I did the same thing last week.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't have enough coffee.
Okay.
So horticulture was created by us with a vision to bring digital solutions to the plant collecting community. Now, that's very broadly saying what we want to do, but we really believe in the power of community, and we feel that we can make the plant community a more sustainable community by providing them with digital tools. And we have so many ideas to do that, but we don't have so much money to execute them. So we're starting one idea at a time. And I think that's our vision here for Horticult, to create one product at a time to make the plant community better, more beautiful. Yeah.
It's our opportunity to make the plant community more fun or plant collecting. Um, so just to
Yeah.
give you an idea, um, obviously we have Plant Provenance, which we launched last week. But then there is also in the ideation and design phase, we have a game, an app, mobile game. I'm currently also in the background working on a e-commerce platform called Gifts for Plant People, and we've already gotten our first artist under commission. His name is
Whoop, whoop.
Kevin. Kevin, if you're listening, shout out to you. So you're going to find featured artists on the website, and you can use their designs to put on t-shirt mugs. And that way we get to support these awesome artists in botanical art, I guess you could call it. Speaking of which, I mean, we spoke about plant provenance last week, so we don't have to touch on that this week. But speaking of Etsy and Co., that's a great segue into our next topic.
Spilling the plant tea.
So smooth, Tanya. So smooth. So this is the main subject we want to talk about in this episode, or at least do a deep dive. That's our intention also for the next episodes, to do a more journalistic deep dive in one of the plant-related subjects. And today we're going to talk about Etsy. It was also proposed to us by one of the group members in the Facebook group, Spilling the Plant Tea. So if you want to propose any subject to us, that would be mostly appreciated. So let's dive into it. Etsy was created in 2005, so it's actually turned 20 years recently this summer. And it's an American company, a small startup in Brooklyn by founder Rob Kalin. And since then, it has always been a haven, a marketplace for unique handmade, for vintage items, and it was a marketplace that existed, I'm not going to say in the background, but it grew steadily until it had like a big explosion in growth during the COVID-19 pandemic. And especially when we're talking about plants, there were small sellers selling specific cuttings of Monstera deliciosa or Hoya species, for instance. But then COVID-19 pandemic hit and things changed.
A lot of people turn to something that they could nurture during that time because we're not a species that is made to be solitary. And plants gave people something to take care for. And so that was like the perfect good or perfect item that helped Etsy during the lockdowns to expand that area of their business model. And at the same time, many species that weren't so wildly available started to become available through specialized sellers and collectors. I don't want to know how many millions of dollars went through the hands of Etsy between buyers and sellers. And so, like when the philodendron pink princess or the Monstera Thai constellation, the Cuprea pink variegated, all those plants, when they started to be hyped in the plant communities, I think Etsy made a nice dollar, right? As we all know, you can find anything from small businesses to large scale hobbyist importers. They all wanted to be in on that or get their piece of cake, so to say. And like within the shortest time, if you look at Etsy today, if you put in plants in the search bar, I think the current number is like 2.4 million listings. That's really a lot. And we got that number from Sales Samurai. That's hard to pronounce in English, Sales Samurai. The allure of getting a cheap, quote unquote, rare plant, especially for those shipping internationally, that has opened the floodgates for scams and scams. Like the number of people who have shown the seeds that they bought that were supposed to be a variegated Monstera deliciosa in the different Facebook groups. I think we've all seen at least one of those posts, right?
Yeah. And that's what we wanted to talk about, actually. So we want to talk about Etsy and the proneness of scamming, of fraud on that platform. We've heard a lot of people complaining about it, and it seems to be really particular to Etsy's setup to, you know, get people scammed to buy plant listings. We found a few forms of fraud that occur a lot on Etsy when it related to plants. The first one being that plants are being offered at a too good to be true price. Plants that are being collected at very high prices, being sold at very high prices, are then listed on Etsy for very low prices, and people fall for it. Like we saw it a few years ago with Monstera albu variegated, which is now widely found at dollar stores, was being sold on Etsy for very low prices, and those often led to fraud and scams because they were not the plans that were being advised. That leads us to the second most common form of fraud, which we call the bait and switch, where plants are being advertised, specific cultivars or specific forms of plants. And then when they buy the plants at the high price at which they are listed, they are being switched by a more common low value plant and shipped instead of the listed plant.
Reminds me of the epipremnum for the Thai constellation.
What also happens a lot is that we see scammers stealing or hijacking existing shops with a lot of good reviews. So there might be some established Etsy shop. I don't know if they're being bought or if they are forcibly being taken over by scammers, and then they keep the positive reviews that were on there before, and then they put on the new products that are not real or fake or scam. So to give an illusion of credibility to the people who want to buy the plants, and also they create fake accounts to give themselves good reviews. So that's something that is witnessed in the Etsy community a lot, where these scammers really go out of their way to create a good image of the shop they use to sell the plants. Then another big scam issue, it's actually something I witnessed myself, is being contacted about buying plants and then in the end just not receiving any goods. So plants are not being shipped. The sellers just stop communicating, ghosting the people who want to buy them. And by the time you can submit a claim on the Etsy shop, the shop may have already closed and reopened under a new name.
I did fall for one Etsy scam, but luckily I got my money back. Yeah, like I said, a lot of people often are able to get a refund, but the emotional toll of that, right? And the
Hmm.
deception, the time lost waiting, because obviously shipping times from that far away are going to be longer.
And
And
you feel stupid.
of course you do.
Yeah.
Of course you do. And let's also not forget the data exposure,
Hmm.
right? There's so many layers to these scams. It's disgusting. It's really disgusting. And you'd think that a platform like Etsy would have like a proper response to that. And I know the situation is hard. We know this because, you and I, we tried to go to Brussels and change legislation about the European plant passport,
Hmm.
etc. And you and I have built online platforms and just recently with plant provenance. So we know of the technical limitations and everything. But you'd think that a company that makes so much money, like the Etsys and the Craigslists and the eBays, that they would find ways to keep buyers safe. So do you know of any response that Etsy had?
I found some responses from Etsy. I think generally they say that, or their response is that the website is generally safe. And they also offer a purchase protection program. Like you said, you were able to get your funds back. They also say that they have a few tools on the website to combat fraud, including alerts on off platform transactions. And they also offer different reporting tools on the website to give feedback. But as I said before, scammers will find a way to prevent those or to circumvent those. So that's a critique that remains by a lot of people in the plant community, that the platform is just not doing enough to proactively test these or vet these sellers and to prevent these things from happening. Because besides the things we mentioned before, it doesn't feel like a safe environment.
You know, uh, and then of course these platforms like Etsy, Craigslist, etc., their main, or I don't know if it's their main target, but a large amount of their sellers, people who use the platform to sell their stuff, will often be hobbyists, right? And they're not really commercial entities. That was a huge problem during the pandemic
Hmm.
when everybody tried to either supplement their income by selling cuttings, by propagating plants, and making an extra dime, whatever. And on the other hand, people had to prune their plants. And what do you do with it? You don't throw it away. So you might as well go sell it to
Hmm.
get some of the money back that you spent. And you had a very personal experience with that on the consequences of that. Talking about Best Buds here, the shop that you had. And I think one of the reasons why you struggled at the end was because you, as a commercial entity, you had so many responsibilities in terms of reporting. You had your accounting, you had to get your shop vetted in order to be able to issue
Plant
the
passport.
plant
Yeah,
passports, etc., so that it eventually became unviable because you were competing against people selling out of their homes who
exactly.
didn't report their income, who didn't file for VAT, etc.
Hmm.
And that brings me to something that eBay did. I believe it was in 2023, right? There was a rule introduced in Germany and actually across the entire European Union that took effect on January 1st, 2023. It's called the Platform Tax Transparency Act, where if a private seller hits certain ceilings, either 30 or more sales within one calendar year, or 2,000 or more in revenue within the calendar year, so revenue, not profit, these platforms have to report those to the local tax authorities, right? I do think that helps with or prevents scamming because if there's a report and people are forced, if they do high volume, low cost transactions, if they get reported at some point,
Hmm.
the window for them to use that in the system, if you will, is a lot. smaller.
And
And I think that's
yeah,
one thing that can help.
while I celebrate that a lot, I do think that made a lot more people shift to platforms like Facebook to sell plants where they don't have that control. Because I personally remember calling one of the Belgian authorities in making sure that these laws are being held, like that they were checking these. And they straight up said to me, we don't have the time or resources to go after private persons to check. So there's just no incentive to following the rules. And I think, yeah, having a law should be enough incentive, but we all know that's not happening. Same thing for plant passport. I think a lot of people, and this is being really European centered now, but a lot of people don't know that in fact it is forbidden by law to send plants without a plant passport. Even as a non-professional seller, you cannot do it. It's not allowed. But there's also no way to get a plant passport if you're not a professional. So there's no way to doing it correctly. And I think if people knew that there were like fines or that they were violating a law in doing that, that more people would more pay attention. Or if there was an alternative to doing it correctly, that they would do it. But now nobody cares. That's kind of the thing we're in.
It's the same situation with Facebook. Everybody's using the groups to sell when in fact the Facebook terms and conditions clearly state you're not allowed to sell in groups. Any sales that happen have to go through the Facebook marketplace, but nobody's enforcing it, right? And maybe it is a fuck around and find out situation. I don't know. Maybe at some point the governments will realize how much money they're actually losing through sales tax or lack of sales tax. It's a moral question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you want to be a law-abiding citizen or do you want to exploit the system to your benefit?
I've never heard of anyone being caught between brackets. There's no risk. They only
Yeah.
go after professionals. Okay, we've gotten a bit off topic here, but I think it's also important that we talked about it. But just to summarize, Etsy, be careful when buying plants on Etsy. We hear a lot about scams, and just know what to look for. If something looks too good to be true, it's not good. Talking about European people now, know that they would need documentation that costs a lot of money to get. So if you buy a plant for €5, a rare plant, it's not possible.
No,
They
it's
need to
not.
pay $150 just to get the plant outside of the country. So
With the
be a,
photosanitary
be a bit
cert
critical. Also, yeah, also with AI pictures, we see a lot on these listings. Purple, orange colored plants. No,
And once plant provenance has taken off, you will be able to go on there and find the
I
seller of
know.
your choice who
We have
has
the
real
solution for everything, Tanya.
we do. They're gonna have real reviews by real buyers. Everything's gonna be documented. But yeah, we're gonna have to give it some time because we need a few more users on the platform.
Yeah, I think that's it for today.
Oh yeah.
I think this was a good one. It was a good mix of like information and banter and
Yeah, but
we,
we're at 57 minutes. I'm gonna have to cut out a lot. Well,
what?
not a lot, but
No, you do need to cut out quite
yeah.
a lot, but yeah. Do let us know if these more in-depth subjects are also something you like to hear more about. Also about the length of the podcast. Any feedback is welcome. Please subscribe and rate us. That would really help us a lot. And you can follow us on Instagram, on YouTube, whatever streaming.
iHeart Music, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts. We're on Amazon. We're everywhere.
We're everywhere,
Prop culture.
conquering the world. Bye bye. See you next week.
Bye bye.
Spilling the plenty. Pop culture. Spilling the plenty.